Hello and welcome to Feminine Existence. This is a passion project of mine that I've been wanting to embark on for quite some time, and I feel like now is finally the right time, so I'm really excited about it. This first video I wanted to really introduce myself, but more so briefly touch on navigating your early 20s. I just turned 24 in January, and I feel like the last several months of my 23rd year, maybe around October, I started to feel a lot of discomfort and anxiety. I'm a very anxious person to begin with, but lots of anxiety around my age and how each day I just get older. And I know that I'm still in my early 20s, okay? 24 is still your early 20s. We're getting into mid 20s though, but anyways. So yeah, the past few months have served as a huge wake-up call for myself, and it's my intention that this video will provide some sort of value and substance to your personal self-discovery journey. I'm currently on a journey of learning about myself, healing myself, and allowing myself to just be, to live. I've always held myself back from my potential, which I know sounds like such a cliche thing to say, but I believe a lot of us do this, whether we recognize it or not. I feel that I do have a lot to offer to the world. I have a lot to say. I have 24 years worth of words in my brain, but I never gave myself the opportunity to speak. Everything I do with intention. In this new world that social media has constructed, I see how my self-image, my creativity, my motivation, my attention span has just melted away. And I want to put this out there because I wholeheartedly believe social media is a very dangerous tool to our brains, our confidence, and our society. However, there are corners of the internet here and there where I do find a lot of value and comfort. Anyways, it's never my intention to waste someone's time. In everything I do, I want my actions, my art, my words to provide some sort of value, purpose, comfort, healing, or substance to whoever is on the receiving end. And that's my intention with this channel, other social media platforms, my art, my writing. It's just to document my personal journey to healing, growing into myself, my thoughts, feelings, and in sharing these intimate pieces of my mind, I hope that it provides value to others. I felt so lost and confused and, all honesty, barely a person for the majority of my life, and I'm just now noticing that, and I finally have the drive to do something about it, to get on the road to healing. Something that I think is so special about your 20s, especially your early 20s, like I said, it really hit me heavy the second half of my 23rd year, is that you're finally in a place where you're, and this is something that, I always forget about, but now I'm really feeling it. Your brain is developing still. And with that, I feel like this weird period from 23 to 26 is really when your brain is finishing up, finally wrapping up 2.5 decades worth of development. And I've noticed a shift in the way that I think and the way that I'm able to not reminisce, but actually reflect and understand how events and just the environment and the way that I was raised, my childhood, my adolescence, all these experiences that I had in my first 18 years, I'm able to actually conceptualize and understand how those impacted the way that I experience the world now, the way that I interpret things, the way that I navigate conversations and my friendships and relationships. Because everything is impacted by the way that you grew up. And that's not to say that you can't change, you can't grow and become a new person. That's not what I'm saying at all. But in order to grow, you have to stop and sit and relax and reflect and identify these parts of you and how they impact, who you are today, who you are right now, and who you'll be tomorrow. I'm going to try my best not to go down a rabbit hole here, and I hope that a portion of people that watch this video are in a period of deconstruction. And I think deconstruction has become so closely tied with religion and religious trauma and, unlearning all the things that you were taught as a child. But I think deconstruction is applicable to anyone. I mean, you're deconstructing things and norms that you were taught before and trying to unlearn certain things so that you can navigate the world in a different way. But anyways, for me personally, I grew up in a very Catholic conservative family, in a very Catholic conservative area. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade. I went to Mass every Wednesday and Friday during school, and then also on the weekend with my family. And after being on my own, after taking a step back from my faith, I came to realize how much the church silences its members and how detrimental that is for young minds as they're developing, especially the minds of young girls. I had never even said this aloud to myself or to another person before, but the other night my husband and I were talking, and I don't know how it came up, but I had mentioned to him how I had never considered a future for myself growing up. And that is one of the biggest things that I have been trying to work through, in this period of reflection and self-discovery and just like considering my options and considering my future, because I had never considered a future for myself. Of course, when I was 3 and 4, I remember having dreams of being a ballerina, artist, and firefighter all together. That was one career. Sometime soon after that, really once I got into kindergarten and got into Catholic school, I lost sight of anything I could have possibly have dreamt for myself. And I don't think that just applies to children growing up in, very Christian schools. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into that because there's so many things I could delve into right now, but I wanted to stick with. By the time I was in, early elementary school, I started to visualize one future for myself, one path for myself, which is to be a stay-at-home mom and wife. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that path if that's what you want to do, if that is what makes you feel fulfilled and what gives you purpose. It's a beautiful thing to be able to raise your children and care for your home and nurture your family. But it is also an extremely draining and isolating role. And I know that because I did that for several years. I was a stay-at-home mom and wife for the first couple years of my 20s. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If that's what you aspire to be, if that's what you love, the problem arises when that is the only option that young girls visualize for themselves. The problem arises when young girls don't have any aspirations for themselves other than to serve their husbands and raise their children and keep a home, because that is all that life is meant to be for them. I don't want to get too far into that because I really do want to do a video focused solely on, deconstruction and growing up in the church. But anyways, I say all this to push my point along that I realized I was, 23, about to be 24, with absolutely no sense of self, no visualization for my future, no capacity to even think that way because I never had the tools or the ability to construct a path for myself. Your 20s, or the defining decade, if you would like to refer to it as though, is the time for reflection, deconstruction. This doesn't always mean religious, healing, and growth. And I think the thing that I struggled with the most in my early 20s was understanding how important it is to sit, to slow down, and to stop moving. I fell into this pattern in my later teens and college years of constant movement. I kept myself so busy, so distracted, so focused on productivity and fitting an ungodly amount of tasks into each day because distraction is all I ever knew. I was distracted my entire life until I moved out because in order to keep you compliant, you must be so distanced from yourself, so busy with other quote-unquote more important tasks that you do not have the time to sit and reflect and even acknowledge your own desires, your passions, and begin to understand your drive and your mind. This distraction is relative to so many different things. It does not solely coincide with religious trauma. This is relative to growing up in hustle culture, a capitalist society, abusive relationships, or abusive, unhealthy relationships with your parents. There are so many situations that this can pertain to, but the underlying theme is that if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling like you have wasted your time, you feel behind, unfamiliar of yourself, doubtful of yourself, your purpose, your passions, you are not alone. Your 20s are messy, and I think this is the natural flow of life in your early 20s is breaking these things down, this way of thinking, all the things that you were taught, and understanding what's good and what's not, and what you need to change and alter and unlearn in order to grow. So I think that's what I will leave this video with. There are so many things that I'm excited to get into with this channel, and I hope this video brought you some peace and something to think about for your own life if you're on this journey with me. And I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening. I'll see you next week.